Today, we're going to talk about AI, the hot topic everyone wants to talk about. We're going to talk about AI, how it's being used by bad actors, how we can look at defenders. I'm Quentin Rhodes-Ferrer. I'm the VP of Stratascale. I'm here with Caleb, heads up our Microsoft services. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, absolutely. So, curiosity, right? We're here to talk about AI in the world of the adversary. How has it changed everything, right? What does that look like now that adversaries can use it? So can the defenders.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at all of the news today with AI, right? Really what we're seeing in the bad actor in the adversarial landscape is a reduction of complexity, right?
Mm.
So, in the olden days before AI, not that long ago, but it seems like forever, it was harder for attackers to really create custom malware. You didn't see it so prevalent.
Hmm.
Phishing emails were easier to spot because of language barriers.
Right.
But these days, we're seeing, attackers being able to create very complex attack scenarios, complex phishing emails that
Hmm.
bypass a lot of the detections without having the skill set themselves. And even more sophisticated, we're seeing malware that's leveraging AI to dynamically change the way it behaves, create scripts.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely an emerging space, and the threat landscape is not slowing down at all.
So is it like safe to say that script kiddies are no longer script kiddies like we're talking about? They've evolved a little bit to, their second level where
Yeah.
they can just ask ChatGPT, hey, go exfiltrate $16 billion worth of data from a client or something like that,
I
right?
mean, essentially, I mean, script kiddies still exist. I,
Yeah.
I think it's just now they're not so obviously spotted, right?
Yeah.
And they can be a little bit more advanced than what they were before.
So what's the goal? Has that changed or?
The goal's still the same. I mean, data is the crown jewels for most organizations,
Right.
and we look at even the most recent news, a malware called Prompt Lock, which was essentially creating dynamic scripts using AI to bypass signature detections, right? So now your static detections that we all relied on, 10 plus years ago
Right.
is really now no longer valid. Right.
Mm.
And even more recently, I saw, some research from a ethical individual, ethical hacker,
Yeah.
where they were creating C2 or command and control using Apple's AI.
Oh wow.
And it would have bypassed all of the detections because it's using the Apple AI protocol. The way it's built, it's just not something that defensive tools have adapted to yet. But data is
Right.
still absolutely the crown jewels.
So to go back on the topic of AI being leveraged by the bad actors, how are we
Yeah.
leveraging that on the good side, right? On the defensive
Yeah,
side.
how are defenders leveraging? I mean, AI innovation is not just helping the attackers as much as we see it, right? I mean, we see a lot of it in the defensive space. So what are you seeing being in Microsoft space,
Hmm.
servicing our clients, helping them get prepared? And what are you seeing as the innovation to stop some of the adversaries and their increasing attacks?
Yeah, so it's a twofold, right? Purview and its capabilities are evolving every day.
Okay.
If you live in the Microsoft space, you know that not only do names change every month, but
Yeah.
solutions and capabilities are changing rapidly, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to stay on top of it. But a lot of people have heard of Copilot, right? 365 Copilot, Copilot Studio.
Yeah.
My personal favorite one is Security Copilot. It essentially acts as a tier one, tier two, almost analyst that sits on top of almost everything inside your environment and gives you additional insights into things that would, previously require a team of people to do.
Yeah.
So reducing overhead as well as increasing the ability to make a determination on what you're seeing in your alerts, you know, can't be understated.
So, I mean, with that, I mean, Copilot and similar to all the other AIs, they're susceptible to hallucinations. They're abused themselves. I mean, we saw Copilot get recently abused via prompt injections and
Right.
emails and et cetera. So, how do we trust Copilot and Security Copilot? How do we trust that it's doing the right thing?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that it's extremely important question, right? Because the trust of AI still is not quite there yet. It's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect for a long time. So what do? We put it in a playground. We make sure that wherever it's scanning and doing its job, it's not just an extremely wide area that it's trying to understand what's happening. We put it directly on something like DLP, for instance, right? Our rules allow for it to scan the DLP alerts that are happening and saying, hey, like what's happening in there? What's the fidelity of this? Give me a synopsis on whether or not this is a true positive or a false positive or what you're determining based off other signals inside of Microsoft.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, for the most part, You can't just allow it to roam free and say it's going to fix all my problems. You have to still put it inside of the same structure and governance plan that you have across your entire environment,
And I
right?
think that's the important thing, right? Having a framework. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone I talk to, AI is kind of a hot topic and how to secure AI. And I think it all boils down to initially the fundamentals, the framework. So looking at that, like what does a good framework look like? I mean, if we're going to implement Security Copilot today,
Hmm.
right? And I'm going to roll it out. I can't just hit a button and go. Like what should I be looking at as an organization to
Yeah.
really get the most out of something like Security Copilot?
Yeah, absolutely. And it boils down again to being brilliant at the basics. Purview has a lot of solutions and a lot of capabilities. There's three that I really like to harp on with every client, right? That's labeling, sensitive information types, and your DLP rules. So allowing Copilot to operate in that sandbox, essentially, right? Uh, you have to align your security governance strategy as well as your data security strategy to a framework. I think that in most places in the clients that I've worked with, they kind of guess based off of what information they seem as important, or if they have in their previous life worked with GRC or something like that. What we found to be the easiest is to align to either ISO 2701 or NIST CSF 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Choose one of those. Understand, okay, which one aligns to my business best, right? And then create that plan with that as a foundational framework.
Yeah.
So,
So how does Copilot? I mean, outside of the governance, like you build a
mhm,
good governance plan, you get your labels, you get use cases, and what's allowed to happen as part of business. How can something like Copilot
yeah,
and Purview, how can that actually help us discover our data? Because that's the number one issue I talk to organizations about is they don't know where their data is. They don't know
yeah,
all the data they have. Like how can they leverage this innovation to help identify that data? Because the adversaries are going to find it,
yeah.
right? They're going to use AI in their own tool sets to go and find the data, to exfil it. How can the defenders look for that data using Copilot?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a mixture of Copilot and a
Okay.
mixture of some of the native capabilities of Purview, right? So we call them sensitive information types. There's
Hmm.
different types, there's different variations on how you can identify these things. But essentially what it does is that you give it a set of parameters and you have it go look across all of your data and say, hey, does this exist in this document? If it does, is it an external facing document? Does it have other flags that we have to match to say that this is, hey, this is a problem.
Yeah.
This is something that existed 30 years ago, maybe in a file share somewhere, but it still holds data that's true today that's probably very sensitive. So leveraging Purview's AI ML ability to go across all this data and scan it and say, hey, good, bad, and then allowing for your governance to come back in and say, hey, once it's been identified as good or bad, what do we do with it? Where does it go? Does it
Yeah.
get rotated into a storage account, or does it get completely deleted? Does it, can you send it somewhere, or only internally? Can only certain people see it? Is it watermarked? All of this, right? And it leverages a lot of the solutions that sit inside of Purview to not only identify the data, but then apply the security controls around it. And then from there, you can kind of run free with the ability to feel like you're protected around AI and its usage.
Yeah. So AI is being, very helpful in the sense of context, right?
Hmm.
Looking across that data, looking at different aspects of that data, instead of just purely regex,
Right.
actually kind of digging into the actual the meat and potatoes, if you will, of what is within that document, the Excel files, whatever it may be.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so one of the other biggest things I hear quite often is in the past, security has been a limiter to innovation and into business enablement. We've been the
Right.
Department of No,
Yeah.
and we've worked as an industry to kind of change from the Department of No to the Department of Yes, but.
Right.
And so when we look at that and we look at AI today, organizations are wanting to figure out how they can enable their business to use AI.
Yep.
How do we look at it from a security lens? How should companies look at protecting their data from inadvertently or purposefully being leaked to other models or
Right.
to other AI, company technology? Like, how do we protect their
Yeah.
data?
Absolutely. And I want to kind of throw this out there as something that we've noticed recently. Data security has always been a security thing, right? But the
Yep.
governance that underlies that security and kind of enforces that security used to never be a security issue. That
Mhm.
was always a completely separate team. The CISO never really had to get involved as much, right? They kind of took the framework that GRC or the risk team would give them, and then they were like, okay, perfect. I don't have to own this. Nowadays, because of the use of AI, all of this is a security issue, right? Now
Yeah.
everything has to be touched by security here. So to answer your question, these foundational components that we spoke about, right? DLP, labeling, classification, these allow for you to not only protect against external AI and malware that's leveraging AI, but also internal use, right? Like we all have seen what Copilot does for productivity,
Yeah.
right? The ability to protect not only that outside, but the inside as well from accidental, because let's be honest, a lot of people are going to accidentally upload something and say, hey,
Yeah.
I love the way this looked, not realizing that it has the CEO's pay scale in it or something like that. And like, can you, recreate this for me? That's now poisoning the Copilot, prompt in a sense.
Yeah.
So the same protections that protect the outside also protect the inside, saying, hey, you can't train certain data on in Copilot. You can't upload this document because it's been identified to have sensitive information in it of this nature, right? That all coincides from both inside and outside. So it's not two separate looks. It's all the same thing.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. What I've seen, what I'm calling these days is called the trusted threat, right? Where you now have an easy button to inadvertently leak data, right? Using any of the AI products out there,
Yeah.
looking at how Purview and Copilot can help defend. What do you think is the biggest area that organizations struggle with when they look at like a data governance program?
Visibility. I
Visibility.
think you just have no idea. Like
Yeah.
you don't know what your data is. Some people don't want to know. They're scared. They're like, I don't want to turn this on because it's going to reveal a headache. It's going to reveal all these things. And what we see most of the times with clients is that it's almost like ripping the Band-Aid off, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to address this up front. And then from there, working with someone like Stratascale, you're able to say, all right, now we can create a plan to address this swiftly. The ROI on Purview, I like to say, is almost immediate because you can get visibility, you can see, right? If you can see, you can fight.
Yeah.
So I would say that visibility is what's probably the most important aspect of that.
Okay. So I mean, when we look at Copilot, when we look at Purview, and we look at how it can help the defenders, right? Where do you see is kind of the first stepping stone in that governance side? If an organization has nothing, right? How can they start to even approach this? It seems like a daunting task, right?
Yeah.
I mean, implementing something as large as Purview, implementing Copilot, those are technologies. So where do you see is like the foundational layer that organizations can start with to get kind of maximize the overall outcome?
Absolutely. First things first, start. You have to start. Like you have to address this and start, right? It always starts with labels. You always start with labels. You always say, hey, what are our labels going to be?
Yeah.
Right. Again, we leverage the NIST CSF framework for a lot of our engagements, even starting so simple as, hey, we're going to shoot out a general label across everything in the environment just so that we can see what's happening with these documents, right? We can track them. We can begin to put like a tag in the metadata to say, where is it gone? What's it doing? Start getting that insight. So again, visibility first, kind of what we harped on before, and then labels immediately after that, right? I can see everything. Now I'm starting to identify, okay, what do I find to be important in my organization, right? Creating that structure and that plan. But to begin, you have to turn it on. You have to turn auditing on. You have to make sure you can see everything and then start working on your labels, right? Get that governance going. That's something that's collaborative. And it now brings people in the room who probably didn't talk to each other in the past, right? That's IT, that's security, that's governance team. That's even some people who sit inside of HR and finance, right? It's like, hey, what's important to you guys?
Yeah.
What are things that if it got out, like, what do we do? So a conversation starting. You gotta start that.
Just start it.
Just gotta start, man. You have to.
I mean, to come full circle on this, right? I mean, AI is such a hot topic. It comes up every day, I swear, on emails and meetings I'm on.
Yep.
And it absolutely is helping the adversary become better, right? Reducing the complexity, improving just their overall techniques, the tactics, techniques, and procedures we're seeing is going to change over time. But I really think it's important that we look at the defensive capabilities that are being exposed to us. So, my final thought, I definitely am interested to hear from you and like what, you would sum up and how organizations, what should be the takeaway. But my final thought is like, we really need to embrace innovation. We at security, like I said, we've been a department of no for the longest time. Although I do agree with saying no to some things, I think there's such promise in AI and really the capabilities it's giving us, especially as you know, cybersecurity is usually not staffed as adequately as it should be. Right.
Shame.
So I see it as a force multiplier, really. And I definitely urge pretty much everyone to really dig in and understand the capabilities and look at implementing it in ways that can help force multiply themselves. But interested to hear kind of your closing thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that as important as it is to be able to leverage AI, it's also important that this is now creating a new type of defense. This is not a new concept, but it's now in the hands of people who are traditionally not in charge of this, right? So it's creating new skills, it's creating new capabilities, new jobs, most likely as well.
Yeah.
And I think that as important as it is to be good at AI, you got to be good at the other side as well, right? You got to have a well-rounded team. So, um, we need more people. We need more people to dive into this. We need more people to be unafraid and brave in this stance as to, hey, how do we protect our organization, but how do we enable our organization? It's not a, hey, let's go stop everything. How do I make sure that we allow our people to, have a trajectory that is to the moon now that they can leverage AI, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen what that does. It's amazing. So closing thoughts really are just that you got to start, get your data under your control. Go find out where it is and what it's doing, right? Start a plan, get in there, and then from there, don't stop your people from leveraging AI. Enable them to do it, right?
Yeah.
So for the most part, I think that's where we're going, and it's only going to get better and better and better as we go along, right?
Yeah.
And also subscribe to somebody who knows Purview because it's changing too fast. Like something came out like a week ago
Absolutely.
that changed how we do everything. So I would say you got to follow the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Definitely is an area I definitely am going to dig into more personally, right? I mean, the innovation, like you said, is growing. So I appreciate you having this conversation with
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.